In the next 7 minutes, I'm going to show you how high performers, people who are already fantastic at what they do, are learning to perform at their absolute best consistently, especially in the moments when it matters the most. Not just on their good days, but every single time it matters. And how living in that state positively affects every other area of your life. From the money that you make, to how you perform, to how you show up in high stakes environments when the pressure is the highest. This is exactly what happened with Václav. When he came to me, he was earning $3,000 a month, and his goal was to hit 5K consistently in 6 months' time. But in the first 30 days of working with me, he made 10,000 US dollars. The next 30 days, he hit 15,000, and now we are in our third month of working together, and he's already on track to pass 15,000 again, and maybe even hit 20,000. Same market, same offer, same leads, the same industry. The only thing that changed was his internal state. And Václav is far from the only one. I've done this with high performers across every industry you can name, and it's the same pattern every single time. And that pattern is exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. And if you don't see the shift you came for in your first 30 days inside the program, you don't pay a penny. But first, if you've been performing at a high level for a while now, whatever your field, and you're hitting the same ceiling month after month, hand on heart, knowing that there's more in you, then you need to hear this. It's not that you're not skilled, it's not that you're in the wrong market, and it's not that you need to work harder. You've been sold an incomplete playbook. The advice every high performer gets is the same. Work harder, sharpen your skill set, put in more hours, more reps, more output. And those things matter, don't get me wrong, but they matter until they stop. If you've ever felt the biggest moment of your year just slip through your fingers, and you know deep down that it was not your skill set that let you down. If you've watched someone else with less raw ability than you just leapfrog you, and you know that you are the better operator. If you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, but you still can't break through. If you can almost feel the version of you that operates in that high level environment. In the deal, on the pitch, in the room, at the audition, but that best version of you isn't showing up consistently. You're not broken, you're not in the wrong career, and you have not missed your window. You just haven't been taught to train the very one piece that scales everything underneath it. And what makes this worse is the so-called solution being sold to you. On one side, you've got the wellness crowd, telling you to run a 3-hour morning routine, shout affirmations in the mirror, and simply visualize your way to the top. But none of that holds up the second real pressure hits. And on the other side, you've got the coaches and the mentors in your field, the ones who've taught you your whole career, telling you to refine your technique, sharpen your craft, work more hours. And that matters, it does, don't get me wrong. But skill built upon an internal state that isn't dialed in means nothing when it actually counts. It just compounds your plateau. Neither side is wrong, they're just both training the wrong layer or only half of it. What I do sits underneath both. The actual mechanism that takes everything you've already built and unlocks the version of you that knows how to use it under pressure. My name is Cian Linehan, and in 2020 I moved from Cork in Ireland to London with €3,000 in my bank account. I had no job set up, no accommodation, no friends, no network, nothing. Within 2 weeks, I landed my first corporate sales role, making over 100 cold calls every day with an Irish accent that most people on the other end of the phone couldn't even understand, especially because I was speaking so fast. But I didn't care because for the first time ever, my income was directly tied to my performance. 6 months later, I joined a firm called Argus Media, where I was selling commodity markets data to financial institutions around the world. In my first year, I was the top closer across a global organization of over 100 reps. By April 2023, less than 2.5 years after I fell into corporate sales, I was at S&P Global, a 6-figure career, closing 6-figure deals, managing 7-figure books of business, all at the age of 25. Throughout all of that, I'd been coaching people on the side, one-to-one, people who found me as a result of me posting content online, documenting my journey. And by the end of 2023, the coaching was pulling me harder than the career itself, so I left and went all in. Over the next year, I built and scaled a coaching company into the multiple 6 figures, working with over 100 high performers. And in every single one of those conversations, in every single one-to-one call I had, and every single group call that I hosted, the same pattern showed up. Not skill set, not tactics, but their internal state. And I knew the pattern because, frankly, I'd built the opposite of it. The reason I'd been the top performer in every single role that I'd taken wasn't just down to my skill set. It was down to the fact that my internal state was constantly dialed in. And honestly, I didn't even fully realize this until in hindsight. So I went deeper into the thing that had quietly been driving every single result in my life. Meditation, breathwork, presence under pressure, and formalized it through a yoga teacher training at the beginning of 2025. What became clear was very simple. Your performance is not about what you do, it is about the state that you do it from. And that's exactly why I built State Accelerator, the system that takes the ability you've already built and trains the one piece that you've never been taught to train. Václav's story is just one example. There are many more. High performers across every lane. Sales, law, finance, founders, and many more beyond that. None of them needed a new career or more talent. They needed access to a version of themselves that they knew was there, but could never tap into consistently. So how does this actually work? Most people think that their performance comes from what they do. The skill, the preparation, the execution. But the truth is, your performance is downstream of your internal state. Everything you do runs through your nervous system before it even lands. If your state is dialed in, you see clearly, you read the room better, you stay calm, and most importantly, you actually perform at your ceiling when it matters the most. And when your state isn't dialed in, you're just forcing everything. You're operating from a state of neediness, from something having to happen. There's too much excess potential. There's too much force. We all know this. The more we desperately want something to happen, the less likely it is to actually come through. And then the whole thing becomes harder than it actually needs to be, both in your career and in your personal life. Think about Václav again for a moment. Same market, same offer, same leads, same industry. Nothing external changed. He didn't get better leads or a better product. The only variable that changed was the state he was operating from. And that one variable took him from earning $3,000 a month to over $15,000 in 60 days. That's the whole thing. Two versions of the exact same person can walk into the exact same moment with the exact same tools, but get completely different outcomes. The difference isn't the tool, it's their internal state. And the person who's trained it is the person who wins in the moments that actually decide things. The deal that makes your quarter, the point that decides the game, the room full of people twice your level, the decision worth more than all the others combined. It doesn't matter what your field is, everything comes back to your internal state. And you can't train your state by just reading about it. The people who figure it out by accident take years. And the ones who are never lucky enough to come across it, well, they just plateau forever. I've distilled everything I've learned from operating at the highest level and years of coaching it into others into one system. The exact framework that takes you from where you're stuck to consistently operating at your ceiling. And it's built around 4 pillars. Pillar 1 is awareness. Most people don't actually know what's happening inside them in the moments when it counts. We map the leaks using your exact situations to establish exactly where your state is costing you the most. This is also where we break the limiting beliefs that have you running the same patterns over and over and over again. Pillar 2 is regulation. Once you know what's leaking, you train control. Practical mechanics, knowing exactly what to do the minutes leading up to a high-stakes moment. In the middle of it, when your system spikes, and after it, in the moments where things don't go your way, to ensure that that doesn't leak into every other area of your life, especially your personal life outside of work. Pillar 3 is stillness. And this is the lever that the top 1% have quietly figured out. Operating cleanly when the stakes are at their highest. We train the muscle of being steady inside the heat, so you arrive with real composure and you're not scrambling for it in the last minute. Pillar 4 is execution. None of this matters if it doesn't show up when it's actually real. Pillar 4 is bringing all of it into the actual moment in real time until the version of you that performs at the top is simply your default way of operating. And when you're accepted into State Accelerator, here's exactly what you get. Private one-to-one coaching calls with me, live group calls also hosted by me, full access to the framework's video course, 24/7 WhatsApp access directly to me throughout, and entry into a private community of high performers doing the very same work alongside you. And look, this isn't just a coaching program. It's a complete identity shift for people who are already good and ready to become who they're actually capable of being. And here's how I personally take the risk off the table for you. Whether or not we end up working together, you will leave your call with a very precise understanding of where your state is costing you and the exact work needed to close that gap. And if you do join State Accelerator, you do the work, you show up to the calls, you implement the framework, and for whatever reason you don't see the shift you came for in the first 30 days, then you don't pay a penny. I'll refund you in full. I don't want your money if you are not seeing the results you came in for. But there is one thing I need you to know. If you think that the answer is just more of what you've already been doing, more grind, more hours, more sharpening the very same skill set, without ever looking at what's underneath, then State Accelerator is not for you. I only work with people who are committed, coachable, and ready to train the one piece that you have been avoiding your entire life. So if that's you, click the top link in the description below this video and book your call. On that call, we lay out exactly where your state is costing you, exactly how to close that gap, and whether State Accelerator is the right system to do it inside. This is your moment. You can stay where you are, running the same playbook, hitting the same ceiling, watching people with less in them move ahead of you. Or you can train the one piece you've never trained and become the version of you that those outcomes up here actually belong to. Click the top link in the description below this video, book your call, and I will see you on the other side.